Good morning. Watchtower, as we know, engages in what they call theocratic warfare. This means that they feel that they are allowed to hide things from the governments, and to justify this course, they invoke Matthew chapter 10 and verse 16. And I'll read it from Philip's translation. It says, "Here I am sending you out like sheep with wolves all round you. So be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves." Now this sentence or this phrase, "be wise as serpents," Watchtower has translated as "be cautious as serpents." The word wise or cautious comes from this word, can you see that? Phronimos or phronesis. I'm not a Greek scholar, but that's the nearest I can get. And it's a good word. It means be shrewd, be prudent, basically be sensible, take sensible precautions. Now the problem is this sort of wisdom can be used in a wrong way, and Satan used it. And if we look at this in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1, where it says here, "The serpent was the most subtle of all the wild beasts that Yahweh God had made." Now that when they translated it from Hebrew into Greek, that word subtle, they used phronimos or phronesis. And Satan was extremely clever, cautious, if you like, and shrewd in the way in which he deceived Eve. Which is why when Jesus told us to be cautious or to be wise as serpents, he followed it up by saying, "Be innocent or as pure as doves." The reason being that he knew you could use this word prudent or wise in a wrong way. So can we, in this case, use this verse to hide things from the government? Now, let's look at an example. If, for instance, I get caught by the Nazis and they say to me, "Look, you've got to tell us of all the names and addresses of your fellow believers," and I would have to say, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't do that, because if I tell you who they are, you will go and hurt them." Now, as a result of that, I would have to put up with torture and a concentration camp. So I would have to face that. But we don't live under those sort of regimes anymore. They've been done away with. Most of us live under a government that respects human rights and gives us freedom of religion. And yes, we can't do anything we want. We can't invade people's privacy. We can't write notes anymore about them. We can't harass people, but we can still preach the good news in the way outlined by the government, and we're free to do that. So if you've anything to hide from the governments, it's because you know that what you're doing is wrong. And when it comes to the point of you hiding it from your brothers or hiding it from people that want to join the organization, and you know very well that if you tell them these things, all these secret rules that you have, you know it'll put them off joining the organization, that's when this verse does not apply. You are no longer as innocent or as pure as doves. Under no circumstances did Jesus allow for a secret set of rules to be hidden from people who wanted to become Christians. That is not the meaning of being cautious. So Watchtower, you really have got to stop doing this. You've got to stop all of these secret rules and concealing them wrongfully from everybody that belongs to the organization. Now, some of us can use this verse to our own help. People like myself who've had trouble with Watchtower. But what we need to bear in mind is that we all have different ways of dealing with Watchtower. I got out of the organisation, the reason being that I knew that if I stayed, the harassment from these wolf-like elders would initiate my death. I would be so ill from the stress, I would not be able to survive it. So I left. Now, I had to suffer the loss of a brother and his daughters and my nieces and my great nieces and nephews. But I was able to cope with that. But not everybody can. So everybody has to use this caution or this wisdom of serpents in their own way to deal with their own circumstances, which will be very different from mine. But all of us can still remain as innocent and pure as doves. We might be tempted to break the law when we're dealing with Watchtower elders, but as far as we can, we will resist that temptation and we will stay within the law, dealing with these elders as best we can and as wise as we can. But thank you for watching this morning.